everybody, this is Miss Peachy from your WCA biology class, and here we are in Unit 8, Lesson 10. So we are getting down to the end of the semester here. The lesson is analyzing data about traits. So this lesson is very much just review kind of from what we did in the previous lesson. There's a bit of an extension on it when it talks a little bit about how the environment plays a role in determining characteristics in a population. Our keywords are distribution, variation, polygenic inheritance, normal distribution, and Mendelian traits. So let's go ahead and look at what we'll be talking about here. So the big question here is how environment plays a role in determining the characteristic of organisms. And so the answer to that is that the environment can play a significant role. That there is variation in any population, and while genetics plays a significant role in that variation, environment also plays a role as well. And it talks a little bit about how you determine the relationship. How do you determine if it's environmental or if it's genetic? And so then it goes on to talk a little bit about how the way in which you determine that is if you look for variances in what a normal distribution would be within a population. For example, they talk a little bit about sea turtles here. And with sea turtles, one of the traits, gender, is an example of a trait that is influenced by environmental factors. The temperature of the eggs when the sea turtle eggs are incubating determines whether that sea turtle egg is going to um, develop, whether the embryo inside is going to develop into a male or a female. When the sand is warmer, there are more females turtles born, and when the sand is colder, there are more male turtles formed. So we know this to be a trait that is influenced by temperature. And it says the gender of alligators and crocodiles is also dependent upon temperature. And it gives another example. This other example is with fish. And they said normally in this specific type of fish, there are more light silver individuals than there are dark gray individuals. So when you would normally look at the distribution of traits, you would see more of the light silver and fewer of the dark gray. However, in the specific example of this pond, you see way more dark gray individuals than you see silver individuals. And the hypothesis is that in this particular pond, there's lower levels of sunlight, and that may be affecting the survivability of fish that are lighter in color versus those that are darker in color. Those that are darker in color have the means to hide a little bit better. They're better camouflage from their predators, and therefore they have a better chance of survival. And that is changing the frequency of that trait within the population. That is kind of an example of natural selection at play here. We are seeing a trait that is increasing the survivability, leading to a change in the frequency of that allele within that population. And then it differentiates between what polygenic inheritance is versus Mendelian traits. Mendelian traits are much easier for us to study in introductory to genetics because they're pretty simple to understand. Basic dominance and recessiveness. One allele is dominant to the other, and if you have that dominant allele, you are going to show the dominant trait. That particular gene is controlled by a single gene. However, many different traits are controlled by more than one gene. These we call polygenic because they are controlled by multiple genes. An example is wheat color. There are 3 different genes that determine the color of 8 wheat kernel. And the combination of those alleles allow for a wide range of different colors in wheat grains. And we can see this with a bunch of different types of traits as well. Human height, for example, skin color, eye color are all controlled by multiple alleles. How do we look for the distribution and patterns of organisms that are polygenic? We look for this bell-shaped distribution pattern. So analyzing polygenic traits, they observe a wide variation of the trait that will result in a bell-shaped distribution pattern where more individuals tend to have the specific trait in the center of the bell and fewer on either end. For example, as we mentioned in the previous video, more people on Earth have dark black to dark brown hair. And as we get to lighter variations on either end, red or blonde, that we see fewer people on Earth with those traits. Let's see here. That is pretty much the gist of what this lesson discusses. Like I said, lots of kind of repeats of information. The newer part is kind of looking at how to analyze whether the environment is playing a role or isn't playing a role. And then looking at the distribution curve, we kind of looked at that again in the previous lesson as well. If you have any questions on this lesson, let me know, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, I'll be seeing you in the next one.